how do we engage in a relationship with our unconscious mind if it's beneath our awareness a lot of the time?
Well, I think it's worthwhile we talked about some of the extraordinary things the unconscious can do. It can inspire us with creativity. Some of these inspirations have changed the world. Newton's inspiration about the law of gravity, when, legend has it, he saw the apple dropping from the tree. That changed the world.
Right.
And that wasn't anything he ground out in a calculation. That just hit him. So we spoke about some of these extraordinary effects of the unconscious. Let's take a moment to talk about some of the ordinary effects. And I think that will lead us down the path of being able to understand it.
Sure.
So we live our lives to achieve our goals.
Right.
We work to accomplish and get the things that we desire. Who decides what it is that you want? It's not you.
I was tempted to say me, but I think I know better after reading your book.
Yeah, it's not, right? So my favorite color is blue. Did I choose that? No, of course not.
Right.
I wanted to be a doctor. Did I choose to do that? No. Let's say that I'd wanted to be a teacher, and I was passionate about teaching. And I sat down and I said, you know what? Teaching would make me so happy, but it doesn't pay very much. So I'm going to change my desire. I'm going to change my passion to be an engineer. You can't do that.
Right.
Right? Or let's say I say, I could really go for some ice cream right now. But a salad will be healthier. So I'm going to change my desire for a salad. You can't do that. One more example.
Yeah.
I meet this woman and I just fall in love with her, but she's a horrible human being. And I know that she's going to make me miserable.
Right.
Can I stop loving her? Usually not. So our lives are directed by what we want, what we desire, what we aspire to. None of this is chosen. All of this comes from the unconscious mind. Our values,
right,
what we consider to be important, our morality, none of these things are chosen. So the first step in cultivating a friendly, good working relationship with the unconscious mind is starting to appreciate its role in our life, starting to pay attention to what it is that we are choosing and controlling and what it is that's kind of imposed upon us from somewhere else.
Okay. You said a number of really interesting things there. You started with the example of Newton with the apple. He didn't choose to have the apple fall on him, but that sparked something within him that changed the world, as you said. And then you're talking about these interests and desires that we have that are kind of outside of our control. They're almost innate to who we are. So I want to go down two avenues with you. So in your book, you talk about something that you refer to as a numinous experience. And I think the example of Newton would be something akin to that. So do you want to describe what that is? Because I feel like everyone can relate to it, but we don't have the language to describe what that might be.
That's right. So usually the unconscious stays in the background, and we're not aware of it. Under extraordinary circumstances, though, the unconscious erupts into consciousness, and we become aware of it, and we experience an altered state. Life is no longer ordinary, and that's been called the numinous experience. Now, the numinous experience is unlike ordinary reality in every single way. And so one of the challenges in talking about it is it cannot be described in words. And as I mentioned in the book, it's like the feeling of being in love.
Right.
You can't describe what it feels like to be in love. And if you try to describe it to somebody who's never experienced it, they think that you're exaggerating. and they think, oh, come on, that's nonsense. The numinous experience is the same thing. We can get a numinous experience. There can be a drug-induced numinous experience. And that happens with psychedelics.
Okay.
Like psilocybin, magic mushrooms, LSD. But you don't need it. The other time we commonly have numinous experiences is with a religious experience, where people say that they come in contact with something that's greater than themselves. So if I try to describe it, you feel like you're coming in touch with a deeper reality. You often get the insight that all is one. There are two characteristic experiences in the numinous experience. The insight that all is one. And people who take psychedelics will frequently describe this.
I've heard Joe Rogan use that language.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't need psychedelics. It will happen under other circumstances. The other is universal love. You get this feeling that not only do you have to love every human being, you have to love animals, plants, rocks, trees, and the universe as a whole. It can be a life-changing experience. People often come out of it and they're never the same again.
Right. That sounds, I mean, I have examples in my own life that I can use that type of language to describe it. And those types of experiences sound almost otherworldly.
Yes.
If we could achieve that state all day long, we would. And so as, let's say scientists or science-minded people, how do we, I don't want to use the word study, but how do we observe this phenomenon? Can we measure it? Is there even a role for science in looking at these types of experiences?
I think there is. You know, psychologists have gotten, it would be hard to measure it objectively, right? We could put somebody in a brain scanner and then give them a psychedelic drug, and we could see what parts of their brain are active. And I believe that's been done, and it's interesting a little bit. It's not fascinating, but the subjective experience is much more interesting. And so scientists have developed scales, and the one I mentioned in the book is the Mystical Experience Questionnaire,
Right.
Where people can rate different statements, how true they are regarding an experience they've had. And we can evaluate what the numinous experience is like and how intense it is under different kinds of circumstances.